So yesterday, Mark Cuban, who has, I would say, been a pretty tremendously awful surrogate for the Kamala Harris campaign, he was appearing on The View with a bunch of women who I will say are not particularly intelligent. Okay, this is not a place you go if you're looking for IQ points. These folks ain't solving Rubik's Cubes over there. And Mark Cuban shows up and he says, the problem with Trump is he doesn't want to be around smart, intelligent women. Here we go, just demeaning every woman who would associate with Trump or vote for Trump, basically.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him.
You never see him around strong, intelligent women, which is weird because his administration was staffed with them. Nikki Haley, who then ran against him, was his UN ambassador. Today, his campaign manager is Susie Wiles. Many of his campaign surrogates are women. His press secretary, Kellyanne Conway, was a woman. It turns out that he's constantly surrounded by intelligent and strong women. I mean, look at the campaign. I've dealt with the campaign many times. Many of the people I've dealt with are female. It's a ridiculous statement. And of course, it was taken as ridiculous by many of the Republican women who are part of the Trump campaign. Representative Elise Stefanik from New York. She called on Cuban to apologize, of course.
Just one day after Joe Biden smeared 250 million Americans as garbage, now Mark Cuban, Kamala Harris's top ally, says no strong and intelligent women support Trump. It's a disgrace, and Kamala Harris stays silent. She must be defeated in 5 days to save America. I'm proud to be the highest ranking woman in the United States Congress. When I ran, I was the youngest woman ever elected. I'm the most senior woman on the House Armed Services Committee, the House Intelligence Committee, and I proudly am voting and endorse President Trump. Save America in 5 days. Vote Trump.
Okay, again, not uncommon. Lots of women are going to vote for Donald Trump. But there is this prevailing opinion among Democrats that women who vote for Trump are being intimidated into it by the men around them. That is the message of this ad that has now made all sorts of waves, this Julia Roberts produced ad about women voting. So, again, this ad has become subject of 1,000 think pieces at this point. The ad was produced by Vote Common Good, a nonprofit organization aimed at mobilizing religious voters. Now, the problem is, I'm not sure the people who produced this ad have ever met a religious voter. Truly. Because what they seem to think is that men and women who are religious, if they're married, basically the woman is a handmaid's tale victim of the man. She could never just have an open conversation about politics with her husband. She might not agree with her husband about politics all the time, but she would never say so. And by the way, the core assumption here, which is that tons and tons of married women actually are secretly being cudgeled into their political opinions by maybe they agree with their husbands, or maybe their husbands agree with them. As it turns out, married couples tend to vote alike. You know why? Because they tend to share everything else too. My wife and I, we vote party line, Shapiro party line, meaning we vote exactly the same way on everything. Want to know why? Because we share a set of values. We had to decide on those values when we decided to build our home and raise our kids. And so it should not be a shock that our values quite identically reflect one another. That's why we have such a solid marriage. A solid marriage is predicated on the grounding of similar values. Those will manifest in voting. But again, the basic idea for Democrats very often is that women and men are at odds. And that means that basically women in religious households are being shoved into closets like the Taliban. Well, not quite like the Taliban, because the Democrats like the Taliban enough to have handed an entire country over to them, but kind of like the Taliban. And that basically a woman escapes the home. She winks at the other subservient Handmaid's Tale women, and then they vote for Kamala Harris. This is just a fantasy. This is not how male-female relations work, particularly within marriage.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose. You can vote any way you want. And no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Walls.
A female solidarity in our crap marriages where we can't have conversations with our husbands. It's so trite. It's such a trite misunderstanding of how male-female relations work. Maybe the number one question I get from my listeners is, how can I help the conservative fight? Well, it's critical to know where your bucks are going. Most credit cards are funneling millions to left-wing causes and candidates, and they hope you don't notice, but now you actually have a choice. Coin is America's conservative credit card. Find them at coign.com. Coin.com. With every transaction, you advance conservative causes and charities at no cost to you. Coin empowers us to take back our country with every single swipe, and it's a great-looking credit card you'll take pride in using. It's bright red. It's got the We the People on the front. Coin works everywhere Visa is accepted. It comes with 100% U.S.-based customer service and consumer protections. Thousands of patriots are earning cash back while fighting the left-wing agenda. The demand is so high, there is now a wait list. There's a movement. Join it. Go to COIGN.com to join the waitlist. Be sure to select Daily Wire in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details. Again, get the credit card that won't be spending your money, presumably, on left-wing cause. Go head on over to coin.com to join the waitlist, COIGN.com. Now, again, I'm sure there are many couples that vote differently, and that's fine. But again, the underlying idea here is that the husband is going to, if he finds out she voted for Kamala, he's going to go home and beat the shit out of her or something. Like that. That's the underlying message of that ad. And in fact, this is something the Democrats have actively been attempting to push. I saw some tweets the other day from members of the Democratic Get Out the Vote structure saying that they had trained their Get Out the Vote specialists, the door knockers, that if they were talking to a woman and the husband came to the door, they were to quietly leave because they didn't want to actually have the woman be victimized by her husband in an incident of domestic violence. This is not how male-female relationships work. And by the way, if you think this is how male-female relationships work, you're contributing to the downfall of Western civilization, truthfully. If you think that males and females are constantly at odds, and the only reason a wife and a husband might vote similarly is not because they share values and a life that they've built together, but because the male is bullying the woman, so the woman has to secretly, quietly, form a solidarity committee among the Stepford wives, and then rebel against the evil patriarchal husbands. It's really kind of sad, honestly. Really kind of sad. It's not just that Democrats don't understand a lot of women. They also don't understand men. So, for example, Sarah Haines over on The View, again, repository of much human stupidity. She was very upset that President Trump had gotten in a garbage truck and driven it around, which was a hilarious campaign stunt after Joe Biden called all of Trump's supporters garbage, which is in fact what happened. We'll get to that in a moment. Sarah Haines, she says, it's just sad that Trump is appealing to men by being in a garbage truck.
I think it's really sad that he's appealing to the working man, like the blue collar worker. With the garbage truck, I know that was about garbage, but it was also he wants to look like he can rub elbows at a McDonald's and he does all these things. The people that will be hurt the most, while he was a president, he reduced by millions the number of workers, and this is blue collar workers who would become eligible for overtime pay. In 2025, it goes even further. And he wants to take away what 40 hours after 40 hours would normally earn you time and a half. He wants to take that away from workers. The reason Elon Musk is with him is someone like Elon Musk benefits from him. Of course. It is the working people that are falling for that. Not all, but the blue-collar working man is the one falling for this.
Okay, who do you think respects garbage men more, Donald Trump or Sarah Haines? Okay, the reason that men resonate to this is because they know that Donald Trump doesn't hate them and think of garbage men as people doing a ridiculous job that's for dullards and all this kind of thing. And by the way, the idea that Donald Trump is attempting to harm the working man. Wages went up under Donald Trump, inflation adjusted. They were stagnated under Joe Biden. It's that simple. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.